Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Job Transfer for All, From Bronze Lord to Immortal Demon God. Chapter 21. Underworld. Returning to the underworld once again, Zhang Qian felt a clearer coercion. There must be a big secret on Dead Bones Mountain. The strength is still not enough, and I feel that I still can't compete with that coercion, but the pressure is not too great. As long as I can super-evolve into a real king, I should be able to completely ignore that coercion. With a wave of his hand, Zhang Qian led all his subordinates towards the Ghost Cave. The Ghost Cave is the territory of the Ice Ghost Sword Master, and the monsters in it are mainly ghosts, and there are a small number of skeletons and zombies. Zhang Qian had no magic attack before, and was unable to deal with the Ice Phantom Sword Master, so he was not in a hurry to subdue this old neighbor. However, as his rank increased, he awakened a magic skill called Dark Flame, and his attributes doubled, making it easy to deal with the Ice Phantom Sword Master. And in this underworld, there seems to be nothing to do except expand. So Zhang Qian planned to subdue the Ice Phantom Sword Master as quickly as possible. The Dark Cave is not far from the Ghost Cave, and after about half an hour, the Ghost Cave is close at hand. Along the way, Zhang Qian subdued some undead here and there, including skeletons, zombies, and ghosts. The number was not too many, and it was better than none. After entering the Ghost Cave, the team was quickly attacked by the same kind. But the difference in numbers between the two sides was too great, and the monsters in the Ghost Cave were powerless to resist the invasion. It didn't take long for Zhang Qian to meet the Ice Phantom Sword Master. Unlike the Pale Skeleton Sword Master, the Frost Phantom Sword Master was a woman during her lifetime. She was tall and well-proportioned, with golden hair flowing like a waterfall. She was wearing a delicate armor that could only cover key parts. It is very beautiful and moving. She is like a queen capable of literature and martial arts in a fantasy world. The first impression makes people feel beautiful and noble. If it weren't for her somewhat transparent figure, she would look almost the same as a real person. The moment she saw Zhang Qian, the Frost Phantom Sword Master showed no expression. Her figure disappeared instantly, and when she reappeared, the rapier in her hand had already pierced Zhang Qian's throat. Teleport. Straight to the point. This kind of elusive assassination ability has ruined many players. Among the three swordsmen of Dead Bone Mountain, the Ice Phantom Sword Master is the most difficult one to deal with. Players often need to spend more to kill her. But at this moment, her sneak attack didn't work. Seeing that her rapier was about to stab Zhang Qian, a big black fireball instantly hit her body, blowing her upside down. Flame of Darkness. Zhang Qian looked at the Frost Phantom Sword Master lightly, with a hint of ridicule flashing in his eyes. At this moment, the body of the Ice Phantom Sword Master is more transparent than before, and there is still a trace of black flames lingering around her body, constantly eating away at her remaining health. The Flame of Darkness skill is very restrained against ghost creatures, and because of the level suppression, the teleportation of the Ice Ghost Sword Master cannot escape Zhang Qian's perception. Under such circumstances, it is obviously impossible for the Ice Phantom Sword Master to gain the upper hand. Zhang Qian said coldly, "Surrender to me, and I will spare you from dying." A flash of struggle flashed in the eyes of the Ice Phantom Sword Master, and he knelt down on the ground after a while, and said respectfully, "See Master." Obviously, as a ghost, the Sword Master of Frost Phantom has higher wisdom than the Sword Master of Pale Skeleton. It is an instinct of undead creatures to submit to the strong among the same kind. When they are capable and intelligent, they can restrain this instinct, but when force cannot defeat the enemy and survival is threatened, instinct will overwhelm intelligence and take the lead. After all, the undead in the underworld is also a kind of life form, and survival is the first priority of the undead. Zhang Qian stepped forward and branded the dark contract on the soul of the Ice Ghost Sword Master. In this way, he can control the life and death of the Ice Ghost Sword Master at any time. You have unified an area, your territory has greatly expanded, and your lordship has been further enhanced. Along with a vague reminder, the gift of rules was poured into Zhang Qian's body, causing unknown changes to his soul. The rules are fair, both for players and monsters. No matter which aspect, as long as you become stronger, you can get rewards from the rules. The improvement of individual strength will be rewarded in terms of attributes, and the improvement of the territory will be rewarded in terms of power. It seems that the player's strength has been improved by acquiring attributes after leveling up, but in fact, during the process of leveling up, his strength has already been tempered. Therefore, the attributes obtained by upgrading are essentially the rewards of the rules. After players establish guilds or other various organizations and obtain various rights, the rules will also give them powers. The monster side is also similar, not to mention the attributes. The manifestation of power is to add various states to friends or enemies. In addition, after the monster lord's performance is improved, there is another opportunity to greatly modify the terrain of the territory. There is no doubt that even if most ordinary monster lords get this opportunity, they may not use it consciously. But Zhang Qian was different. After digesting the new powers he had just acquired, he immediately realized that this might be an excellent opportunity. Interesting, does this mean I can combine 3 caves into one? Zhang Qian has always been dissatisfied with his territory. As a lord, what's the matter with only one cave as his territory? It's totally unremarkable. But now, the opportunity to merge the 3 caves of Dead Bone Mountain is close at hand. The power that Zhang Qian just obtained can not only merge these 3 caves into one territory, but also completely change their appearance to create a brand new territory. The construction plan of the new territory still has to be based on the theme of torturing players, so, why not set it up as a maze? Maze. For most players with low IQ, it is a very headache for them. And after the fashion is released in the Dark Cave, there will inevitably be a large number of players flocking to it. There are many forks in the maze, which can not only divert players, but also set more traps. Therefore, building a maze will play a major role in dealing with the player's subsequent harassment. Zhang Qian ordered the Pale Skeleton Sword Master and the Ice Phantom Sword Master to expand to the plain far from the Dead Bones Mountain to subdue more undead souls, and then closed his eyes and began to conceive the maze. He had also played many maze adventure games in his previous life, but it was undoubtedly difficult for him to keep the design drawings of those mazes in his mind. Fortunately, he doesn't need to plan the maze too delicately, nor does he need to design more ways out for the player. He's a monster lord, not really a game designer. To put it bluntly, from the standpoint of the monster lord, killing or burying is normal operation. Therefore, this maze only needs a correct route, allowing the player to meet him as the lord. As for whether there are too many forks in the road, whether it will turn people's brains into a paste, that is not within his consideration. The labyrinth is set up in a square shape, hidden in the mountainside of Death's Bone Mountain. The end point of the correct path is set in the middle. It can be set up in 2 layers. My palace can be set up in the upper layer. With the further improvement of power in the future, 1 layer can be added. 1 floor is expanded upwards or downwards, so that the complexity will increase exponentially, and even if there are more players, there will be room to maneuver. In many regular online games, the ultimate boss in a map can often be refreshed immediately, appearing at any coordinate on the map. Zhang Qian intends to learn from this setting a little bit, and set up a few more palaces in the maze. Before each secret realm is opened, he randomly chooses a palace to sit in. In this way, players cannot explore the secret realm according to the fixed strategy. As the production capacity of the secret realm gradually increases, the duration of the secret realm descending to the world will gradually extend, and many high-level secret realms can even be permanently opened. So Zhang Qian doesn't need to worry that the secret realm is too complicated for players to find him. After about 2 hours, the maze was finally built. Zhang Qian stepped into the maze and followed the correct path to his own palace. Looking at the empty hall, he looked a little melancholy, and murmured, "It's really lonely to be an undead, why don't you grab a few players to play with?" Real undead naturally don't have such emotions as boredom, loneliness, but Zhang Qian is not a real undead after all. In his body that was completely eroded by darkness, after all, there was a living soul hidden. Humans are social creatures, and prolonged loneliness is enough to drive a person crazy. Fortunately, Zhang Qian can fight wits and courage with the players, otherwise, in a few days, he might become a complete lunatic. As night falls, the Pale Skeleton Sword Master and Ice Ghost Sword Master return with a group of undead. Zhang Qian hurriedly arranged them to each key level of the maze, and then prepared for the arrival. Human Plain. At this moment, the foot of Dead Bones Mountain is already crowded with people. The regional channels are also extremely noisy. There are so many people. The dark cave is too full to hold. Haha, too many people is not good. I am worried about the troubles of those traps, so many people have waded through them and cleared the traps. Brother, you have such a wonderful idea. How can you be sure that you are not the one who fills the trap? Of course I'm sure, because I'm already level 30, and I can't enter the dark cave. Haha. Gooby, it turns out he's a theatergoer. There are so many people, there are not enough skeleton monsters in the dark cave. I'm so worried. I haven't even seen the face of the fallen Dark Sword Master in the past 2 days, and there are so many competitors. If the Dark Sword Master is killed and some amazing treasure is revealed, then the whole world will be killed. Are all players from the world attracted? You're worrying too much. Do you really think that border barriers are just a display? At most, it will attract players from all over the country. That's scary enough. Elites from all over the country are fighting for the boss together. How can we lose people do it? Hehe, do you think you can win it now? According to reliable sources, many guilds today have formed low-level elite players, and they are determined to win the fallen Dark Sword Master. Hiss. In this way, it will be even more difficult to gain anything. Look, the elite players of the Great Guild are here. They are all silver sets. Awesome. Worthy of being a grand guild, the background is profound. You can easily form an elite team, and you can't afford it. You can't afford it. It's over. With these elite teams, the fallen Dark Sword Master will definitely not be able to handle it. It seems that today is the end of the fallen Dark Sword Master. Amidst the discussions among the casual players, several teams of elite players with an average level of 22 came to the foot of Dead Bones Mountain almost in no particular order. And among these elite teams of players, there are 1 or 2 senior players. They came from different directions, and finally stopped at the entrance of the copy. The casual players along the way unconsciously scattered the road, truly worthy of the name of the casual players. Haha, friends of the Magic Light Society, it's rare for you to gather together a low-level elite group. It must be very difficult, right? An elder from the Excalibur Society laughed. The deacon of the Magic Light Society glanced at it, and said with a sneer, it turned out to be a friend of the Excalibur Society. You underestimated our Magic Light Society. After all, it is also the #1 guild in the Imperial capital. It is just a low-level guild. What's so difficult about the elite group? It's just a trivial matter. The elder of the Excalibur Society said leisurely, yes. For the guild ranked first in the Imperial capital, it is really not difficult to just pull out a low-level elite team, but the question is this team you brought an elite? Don't you think that wearing a set of good equipment can be regarded as an elite? The face of the deacon of the Magic Light Society changed slightly, and his expression seemed a little unnatural. Naturally, the elite team should not only look at the equipment, but also look at the team's discipline, organization, and tacit cooperation. Leaving aside the hardware conditions in terms of level and equipment, a hastily formed team will definitely not be able to beat a team that has been running for a long time. And the latter deserves to be called an elite group. My family knew my own affairs, and the deacon of the Magic Light Society knew very well that the elite group formed by my guild looked glamorous on the surface, but in fact it was basically the same as the casual players around them, and they couldn't even follow orders. But there is no way, time is tight. Magic Light will not pay much attention to the cultivation of new players on weekdays, relying on its own being the largest guild. It only recruits high-level players to recruit, but now it has to suffer the consequences. The deacon of the Magic Light Society said coldly, is it an elite group? You will see the truth in actual combat. The elder of the Excalibur Society said playfully, it seems that you have great confidence in your elite group. Since this is the case, should we take a gamble? Pulling out such a large elite group and killing only one corrupted Dark Sword Master seems a bit unreasonable. Overqualified. Today, the fallen Dark Sword Master will undoubtedly die, so why don't we take this opportunity to gamble on something else? What do you think? The deacon of the Magic Light Society asked, how do you plan to bet? The eyes of the elder of the Excalibur Society flickered, and he said with a smile, whoever can kill the fallen Dark Sword Master in our 2 families will win, and our Excalibur Society can bet 10% of the revenue from the secret realm of the Northwest Dragon's Lair. The deacon of the Magic Light Society narrowed his eyes, and asked seriously, the 10% income of the Dragon Nest secret realm is not a minority, can you be the master? The elder of the Excalibur Society laughed loudly. To tell you the truth, this matter was our president's idea, and he just wanted to know if you Mo Guang would have the guts to make this bet. The face of the deacon of the Magic Light Society changed. He pondered for a while, and said, I can't decide this matter, I will ask our president first. After finishing speaking, he didn't wait for the elder of the Excalibur Society to agree, and directly opened the private chat channel to contact the president of the Magic Light Society. After a while, the deacon of the Magic Light Society said with confidence, Okay, our president agreed, since you dare to bet 10% of the proceeds of the Dragon's Lair, then our Magic Light Society can't be stingy, we will take Ragnarok half of the proceeds from the secret realm will bet on you. The elder of the Excalibur Society thought for a while, and probably thought that the bets on both sides were of similar value, so he approved the bet made by the deacon of the Magic Light Society. At this time, representatives of several other influential guilds also came up one after another, threatening to join the gamble. The representatives of these great guilds obviously believed that today's corrupted Dark Sword Master must surely die. The only question is which one gets it in the end. After some communication, several top guilds in the imperial capital quickly reached a betting agreement. This gamble changed from the initial 2 bets against each other to 5 top guilds taking bets to build a prize pool. Whoever kills the fallen Dark Sword Master can take away all the bets in the prize pool. If any family wins, this bite will definitely eat a fat man. There is no doubt that in order to win the bet by killing the fallen Dark Sword Master, they will inevitably have a big battle with each other. As time passed, the entrance to the secret realm finally appeared. The casual players who were all at the door rushed into the secret realm immediately. However, after entering the secret realm, they were all confused. What's going on? Why not the Dark Cave secret realm? Didn't I enter the Dark Cave secret realm? How did the Dark Cave become like this? Are you still in the secret realm of the Dark Cave? Don't you even look at the minimap? This is the secret realm of the Dark Maze. Hiss. The secret realm of the Dark Cave has become the secret realm of the Dark Maze. What happened? How can the secret realm be renamed? Who knows, I've never encountered such a thing before. Dark Maze secret realm. We entered a maze. Headache. My performance in maze exploration is mediocre, what the hell should I do? Forget it, don't worry about it, let's go to the fallen Dark Sword Master first, there are so many people here today, it's not something that can be blocked by a mere maze. As a steady stream of players entered the secret realm, Zhang Qian who was far away in the Lord's Hall also showed a deep smile. As he expected, there are indeed a lot of players arriving today. And most of the players hate the maze, they have provided Zhang Qian with a lot of negative emotions without encountering any traps after entering. It may not be much to spread to each player, but the negative emotions of so many people gathered together, it is not a small number. As soon as the secret realm was just opened, Zhang Qian had obtained more than 100,000 powers of faith. He roughly estimated that nearly 10,000 people have entered the secret realm now, and there is still an endless stream of people entering the secret realm. Nearly 10,000 people brushed the secret realm. This is the treatment only available in many super large secret realms. In a low-level secret realm, accepting so many players broke the record. Zhang Qian lowered his head and pondered. With so many players coming, the traps in the maze might not be enough. His new territory is huge, the entire labyrinth covers an area as large as 6 football fields. But as more and more players poured in, the maze became more and more crowded. With so many players, it is too slow to collect negative emotions only by traps. After all, no matter how many traps there are, they can only torture a small number of people at the same time. Although these people can generate a lot of negative emotions in a short period of time, it is not enough for Zhang Qian. I have to find a way to make everyone have negative emotions. I can also apply a negative state to all players who enter the territory. This negative state cannot be wasted. We must think about how to use it. Zhang Qian rubbed his chin, sinking into the world. After a long time, his eyes suddenly lit up, and the corners of his mouth curled up. With a big wave of his hand, the set negative state immediately descended on the entire secret realm in the form of rules. At the same time, players also received system prompts. The king of the silver-ranked secret realm has fallen and the Dark Sword Master releases his power. All players who enter the Dark Labyrinth will suffer negative status. Ding! You are affected by the power of the king. The movement speed of the upright state is reduced by 50%, and the movement speed of the crawling state is increased by 50%. In an instant, all the players who entered the dark maze were stunned. It seemed that an unknown existence took a sledgehammer and hit them hard on the head. After a long time, the players finally came to their senses. What's the situation? King of the Silver Secret Realm. What does this sentence mean? What else do you mean? The fallen Dark Sword Master has been promoted to King. King Boss. Awesome. Lord Boss is promoted to King Boss. No wonder the explosion rate of dark caves is so abnormal these days. It works. Everything is explained. Let us have a group of rookies in their 20s who have barely learned any skills to deal with the King Boss. Can this break the defense? It is definitely impossible to break the defense, you can only use real injuries. This shit, how did you grind it to death? I want to know, how much blood does the King Boss have? Looking at the level, the blood volume of the level 30 Bronze King Boss is about 300,000, and the blood volume of the 20th level Silver King Boss is about 400,000. This, can no 1,000 people grind the boss to death before the secret realm is closed? Anyway, let's find the fallen Dark Sword Master first. That's the Silver King Boss. With our level, we don't even have the chance to touch it under normal circumstances. The players are almost desperate, but there is a little hope in the despair. The higher the boss rank, the better the dropped treasures. This is the law that the players have recognized. If it was hypothetical to say that the fallen Dark Sword Master might explode the artifact, then it is really possible for the fallen Dark Sword Master to explode the artifact. Soon, the players' attention turned to the debuffs on their bodies. The players were only shocked when they learned that the fallen Dark Sword Master had been promoted to the Silver King. But seeing the debuff on his body at this time, the players felt very disgusting. Nima, my mentality is broken. I couldn't walk fast without a mount, but I added such a disgusting debuff to me. How can I still see the fallen Dark Sword Master? This boss is so disgusting that he wants me to crawl forward. He is dreaming. I would rather exit the secret realm and die here than crawl. Walking upright reduces the movement speed by 50%, and the crawling state increases the movement speed by 50%. This fallen Dark Sword Master Junt is a genius. To climb or not to climb, that is the question. Forget it, I won't fight this boss anymore. Originally, the King Boss couldn't be defeated, and I even created such a disgusting debuff. If you like it, just find 2 mobs and kill it. Haha, I just want to know what the elite groups of those major guilds think. I heard that they bet with the fallen Dark Sword Master. The stakes are quite high. I don't know if they will crawl away. And this thing, then there may be a good show to watch. The elite players from the 5 major guilds are crawling like dogs to fight the boss. The picture is so beautiful that I dare not watch it. Haha. Magic Light Club Elite Group Team Channel. Whirlwind Boy, boss, this debuff is too disgusting, can we stop crawling? Trainee for 2.5 years, exactly. Head, crawl on the ground. The faster you crawl, the more you look like a dog. We can't be dogs. Examen Harry, this secret realm is really not created by humans. Humans are not as good as dogs. Captain, let's brush a few skeletons casually. Don't even think about fighting the boss. If this is really crawling, how can we have any face in the future? Jojowan Dachang, head of the new Cutting Edge Regiment. Brothers, listen to me. I know it is difficult for everyone to accept, but we really have to climb this time. If we don't climb other people's guilds, we will climb. If they snatch the boss, our team will have to disband. You should know how difficult it is to join the Magic Light Club. The only way for us low-level players to stay in the Magic Light Club is to prove our worth. Think about the benefits of the guild. A man can bend and stretch. In order to enjoy the benefits of the first guild, what's wrong with being a dog? Those casual players want to be but can't be. Heaven and earth yo-yo, what the team leader said makes sense. If we low-level players want to get ahead, we have to seize every opportunity. Now that I have finally joined the Magic Light Society, I really can't quit easily. Leave me here, that's right, isn't it just being a dog? As long as you can become stronger, what's wrong with being a dog? Those who don't want to climb, quit the elite group by themselves, so as not to be expelled from time to time. Xiaodongxi, who do you look down on, bro? Isn't it just like a dog crawling on the ground? What's so difficult about it? I respect you by crawling first. Similar scenes happened almost simultaneously on the channels of the 5 major guilds' new elite groups. The players of the 5 new elite groups were very resistant to crawling on the ground at first, but as some of them presented the facts and reasoned, even persuading them with excitement, more and more people finally joined the ranks of the crawlers. The elite is worthy of being an elite, but its execution ability is extraordinary. While the other ordinary players were still hesitating, the 5 elite groups who had just made their choice had already started to climb up on the ground in unison. Both hands and feet landed at the same time, the movement speed increased by 50% out of thin air, and the other players were thrown far away in a moment. The other players were stunned and couldn't believe their eyes. This is the new elite group of the 5 major guilds. Are they so open? Awesome. I finally know why I can't join the 5 major guilds, because I'm not in tune with them, because I'm not perverted enough. So fast. I seem to have seen a big black mouse sprinting past. God is a big black mouse. That's a big black dog. Haha, humans become dogs. Listening to the ridicule coming from nearby, the players of the 5 elite groups were all distorted in their hearts. Their hearts were already filled with anger, and the negative emotions came in waves one after another. But I have already climbed, and standing up again cannot erase the fact that I have already climbed. So although the members of the 5 elite groups were angry, none of them stood up. They only swear secretly in their hearts that they will definitely stand out in the future. Even if it is climbing, I will climb to the highest step by step, step by step. Let no one look down on me. With this in mind, the 5 elite legions climbed more smoothly and faster, and soon all disappeared in front of them. The casual players were stunned. Someone seemed to be infected, and even bent over and began to crawl. Among the crowd, Cheng Baifeng gritted his teeth and said, "Go, let's climb too." The teammate looked at Cheng Baifeng in disbelief. "Captain, are you healthy? We didn't climb the waterway yesterday, but today in front of so many people, are you sure you want to climb?" Cheng Baifeng said viciously, "I understand it now. This boss just wants to see the player make a fool of himself, and he just wants to torture the player severely. I didn't climb yesterday because I thought of other ways to cross the waterway, but now it seems that this is not enough. Not enough. As long as this boss has the heart, he can always think of a way to make us crawl on the ground. If you can't pass this level, don't even think about all the subsequent levels." The teammates were stunned. "It's not that exaggerated, is it?" Cheng Baifeng sneered and said, "I've already seen through the Dark Sword Master. This is a black-bellied, vicious and funny big devil. If you must kill him, you can only follow his rules, otherwise you won't even see his face." The teammate doubted. "He is just a boss, is his mind so complicated?" Cheng Baifeng shook his head and said, "You don't know, I heard from a senior that some bosses are more intelligent than our players, and they also have emotions. The higher the level of the boss, the richer the emotions. There is a female boss who is in love with a certain boss, and I don't know if it is true or not." Teammates feel that the 3 views have been strongly impacted. Dating a relationship with boss. Is there such a thing? Fake. Cheng Baifeng sighed. "I just heard that it doesn't matter to us whether there is such a thing or not. The most important thing now is to find the Dark Sword Master as soon as possible. We have already delayed for 2 days." After being relieved by Baifeng, the team members let go of their knots and shame, and all turned into crawlers and started to rush forward. In contrast, Lu Xuanfang and the others had no intention of compromising in the same famous elite team near the imperial capital. They turned around and left the secret realm, having given up on hunting the fallen Dark Sword Master. Not surprisingly, some people value dignity more than anything else. It is really difficult for them to learn how to crawl like a dog on all fours. Team Qin Zihua also made the same choice as Lu Xuanfang's team. This special team composed of purely beautiful players basically turned around and left the secret realm as soon as the debuff came to them without any hesitation. "All the preparations I made with great difficulty were wasted," Pastor Sha Miaojun said angrily. In order to get through the secret realm of the Dark Cave, they started preparing after they exited the secret realm yesterday. In order to pass through the waterway, they asked someone through their connections to get a kayak that people used to play in the water 100 years ago before the world mutated. In order to pass through the mirror passage, they found someone to make several sets of skis specially. To get through the boulder trap, each of them carried a backpack of wide planks. But now these preparations are useless. The fierce warrior Yu Yaya glanced at Qin Zihua, and asked lazily, "What should I do? Why don't you give up this secret realm?" Sister Yu Archer Li Xiangjin said unwillingly, "Give up the secret realm? Then we won't be able to get the fashion. Yesterday's Phoenix Dance 9 Heavens fashion is so beautiful. I really want it." The bee-waisted assassin Yang Weiwei also said longingly, "Since the Fengwu 9 Heavens fashion can be revealed in this secret realm, maybe other fashions can also be revealed. It would be a pity to give up." Captain Qin Zihua didn't speak, but the beautiful Kazilan's big eyes flashed a gleam. Obviously she had no resistance to those beautiful fashions. "TCH, Yu Yaya said, so what if those costumes are beautiful? Are you willing to crawl on the ground like dogs for those costumes? I think that instead of wasting time in this secret realm, it's better to hurry up and upgrade and earn more gold coins from other players. Buy fashion. You don't understand," Yang Weiwei said melancholy. "Fashion requires individuality, and the first person wears the most fashionable clothes. Not only can we buy fashion from others, but others can also buy it. Let's not talk about whether we can. If I can buy it, even if I can, how can I guarantee that the fashion I buy will be unique? I don't want to wear the fashion worn by others. But this secret realm is so difficult, and the fallen Dark Sword Master is really too stupid. So depressing. Oh, X3. After listening to Yang Weiwei's analysis, the teammates couldn't help sighing. At this time, Qin Zihua suddenly said, "It's not like we have no chance. Walking upright reduces the speed by 50%, and the crawling state increases the speed by 50%. What if we neither stand nor crawl?" Sha Miaojun was stunned for a moment. With a silly expression on his face, he said blankly, "If you don't stand and crawl, then you won't be affected by the debuff." "But, how can we neither stand nor crawl?" Yang Weiwei's eyes lit up. "Mounting. We can ride on the road, so we don't have to climb. Sister, am I right?" Qin Zihua nodded slightly. "Let's go buy flying mounts. Compared with fashion, a few flying mounts are nothing." Hearing this, Sha Miaojun said energetically, "Eldest sister is still smart. Good, let's go buy a mount right now, and we must get the fashion we like." Players who don't want to be dogs are gone, but players who are creepers are moving forward at high speed. Soon, they arrived at the first fork. The first time I entered the maze, I was unfamiliar with the place, and there was nothing to worry about. I just chose a junction at random and moved forward. Due to anger and excitement, many players forgot the various accidents that happened in the dark cave 2 days ago. They rushed very fast at first, until they accidentally plunged into the trap, and they suddenly realized that what they were facing was a black-bellied king boss. Because of the merger of the Bone Cave and the Ghost Cave, Zhongqian's power and secret realm production capacity have been greatly improved, which gives him more room to set up more sophisticated traps. Therefore, although the traps in the dark maze are not as dense as the previous dark caves, the total number of traps has increased by more than 10 times. In particular, traps with no technical content such as flaps and half-cylinders can be set directly in the form of background maps when building a maze. You can set as many as you want, even Zhongqian's mana is not enough. Need to consume. This kind of trap has no lethality, and there is one at almost every distance. The meaning of their existence is to prevent players from running wildly. With so many small traps, one can imagine what will happen to those players who run wild. In short, the overall speed of the players finally slowed down after being bumped into one after another. The extra 50% movement speed increase in the crawling state is completely useless. They didn't dare to move forward at normal speed, because the normal speed is also very fast, and if they are not careful, they will fall into the trap. Only then did the players in the maze realize that they seemed to be tricked by the boss again. Walking upright is too slow, and you may not be able to find the boss when the secret realm is closed. You can't crawl too fast, or you won't be able to stop the car. The players were stuck in a state where they couldn't get up and down, and the aggrieved hearts were beyond description. Anyway, Zhongqian could always receive system prompts. He was extremely bored, and he didn't block the system prompts. To him, this was simply the most beautiful voice in the world. Negative emotions from player Cheng Duoduo plus 777. Converted into 777 points of power of faith. Negative emotions from player Li Dazhuang plus 666. Converted into 666 points of power of faith. Negative emotions from player Wang Meili plus 555. Converted into 555 points of power of faith. Negative emotions from player Xiao Happy plus 444. Converted into 444 points of power of faith. Negative emotions from player Meng Xiaoyu plus 333. Transformed into 333 points of power of faith. Players have different abilities to withstand stress. Some are more popular and provide more negative emotions, while others have milder tempers and naturally provide less negative emotions. Zhang Qian just likes players with a lot of temperament, for nothing else, just one reason, boldness. In a passage, dozens of players are slowly climbing forward. Crawling and crawling, the person in front suddenly let out a scream. What the hell is this? It's so tricky. Hiss. Fingerboard. Nicknamed Little Bamboo Shoots. Is this boss a demon? People are crawling around, and they put little bamboo shoots in the tunnel. Can you be more evil? Forget it. Don't complain, it will be good if you don't apply gold juice on the fingerboard. If you don't understand, just ask, what is golden juice? Golden juice was used by the ancients to defend the city. It is boiled from urine and urine. You can think about the power of that stuff. I'm sorry, why don't you say it? What if the boss arranges it after hearing it? No way, why not? With the dark belly of the fallen Dark Sword Master, do you think he will? I was wrong, I shouldn't have talked. In the King's Hall, Zhang Qian did hear that player's discussion, but he didn't intend to make any money. Disgusting others is fine, but not yourself. Not worth it. Besides, if you really play too much, what should these players do if they don't come? You can torture the player to death, but you can't torture the player crazy. The deceased had negative emotions, how could a lunatic have negative emotions? In another passage, there are also dozens of players crawling forward on the ground. These players did not encounter the shiatsu board, but encountered another very difficult thing: non-Newtonian fluid. When the first few players climbed to the edge of a clear pool, they didn't jump in recklessly at first. They stopped the people behind them and watched carefully by the pool for a long time. They didn't see any tricks in the pool for a long time. So he jumped into the pool and tried to swim. However, the moment they jumped down, they froze on the spot. Because their bodies didn't sink, but stood on the water well, just like standing on wet sand, and there was a slippery and soft touch under their feet. But in this dazed effort, their legs had already started to sink, foot by foot, and soon they sank to the waist. Since the world has entered the era of job changing for all people since more than 100 years ago, most of the education received by everyone is related to job changing, and the inheritance of scientific knowledge has been greatly reduced. Therefore, the younger you are, the more scarce your scientific knowledge reserves will be. Up to now, almost no one among young people knows what non-Newtonian fluid is, and naturally they don't know the physical properties of non-Newtonian fluid. When they fall into the non-Newtonian fluid, they only think that they have fallen into a swamp, and they don't even dare to struggle, and they just watch themselves and the people around them completely fall into the non-Newtonian fluid. Does this boss have cat cakes? There's a swamp in the maze. I'm so numb. Brothers above, quickly take the rope and pull us up. Help me, help me, this doesn't seem to be a swamp. If it is a swamp, although the more you struggle, the faster you sink, but it's not slow if you don't struggle. No matter what it is, go up first and then talk. With the help of the people on the shore who were exhausted, several players who fell into the non-Newtonian fluid were finally rescued. Then a group of people began to study around the pool in front of them. After working for a long time, someone accidentally stepped on it, only to find that the non-Newtonian fluid in the pool can harden. Things in this pool will harden when they are hit hard, but they will sink into it when touched slowly and softly. It's amazing. I understand. To cross this pool, I am afraid that a certain speed is required. We must pass as fast as possible. But, what if there are other weird things in this pool? There's no other way. Let someone explore the way ahead first, and we'll find him out when we encounter problems. Okay, let's try this first. Who will explore the way? The crowd quickly selected a volunteer to explore the road by drawing lots. Then, the volunteers tied their bodies around their waists, lay down on the ground and crawled towards the opposite side of the pool at the fastest speed. Bang! Ah! The selected volunteers quickly crawled on the non-Newtonian fluid. At first, the results were very gratifying, but halfway through the rush, they seemed to hit an invisible wall. The whole body of the volunteers suddenly stopped. The neck bone seemed to be almost broken. The people on the shore all shivered, feeling a little numb. This hit too hard. Thanks to the player. If it wasn't for the player, his brains would probably explode all at once. He started to sink. Save someone. The crowd quickly rescued the volunteers, and then gathered together to discuss countermeasures. The fast pass option is feasible, but there is clearly an air wall over the pool. According to the urine nature of the boss, he will definitely leave us with hope of passing. The air wall should not be high. The question now is, how can we find out the height of the air wall? How many air walls are there behind? These are all unknown. I have no choice but to continue to explore. The location of the first air wall is already clear. Stop there for a while, and then take out the wooden boards. You should be able to stay on this fluid for a longer period of time, so that you can explore the air wall height. There are many smart people among the players, and with the strategy of the previous 2 days, the players had already prepared all kinds of props in a mess, but the non-Newtonian fluid pool still failed to stop these dozens of players. However, just as these dozens of players were about to leave the non-Newtonian fluid pool, they encountered intensive long-range attacks. It was Zhang Qian who arranged 30 skeleton monsters at the other end of the non-Newtonian fluid pool. Several crispy players were instantly emptied of their health and exited the secret realm. The others rushed ashore in a hurry, and then attacked the group of skeleton monsters. After a fierce fight, all the skeleton monsters were wiped out, leaving only 2 strengthening stones. Seeing that they had worked so hard to kill so many skeletons, but failed to reveal their costumes, the dozen or so players who were still alive were somewhat disappointed. It's a pity. There is no fashion. Don't be a pity, the explosion rate of fashion is already low. I heard that even a high-level secret realm may not be able to explode a fashion in a year. That's right, it would be nice to be able to explode 2 enhancement stones, but it's a pity I couldn't grab them. Brothers who have grabbed the strengthening stone, we will go to the front to explore Luang later. Haha, no problem. This broken debuff is too troublesome. Our movement speed has been reduced too much in an upright state, otherwise there would be no need to kill so many people. No way, bear with it. The surviving players moved forward, crawled while chatting, and soon came to the end of the passage. It turned out to be a dead end. You have to turn around. Wait, first look for a mechanism. Some passages in the maze seem to be dead ends, but there may be secret doors. Open the secret door and you can walk back to the correct passage. It makes sense, everyone look for it. Everyone searched carefully for a long time, but couldn't find any mechanism, and finally had to admit in frustration that they and others had indeed entered a dead end. And situations like this happen all over the maze. As you get deeper into the maze, there are more and more forks, and the players are more and more scattered. There are players in almost every fork, ranging from dozens to hundreds, and there are various traps in every fork. Some traps are lethal, while others are purely disgusting. There are monsters in some sideways, and there are no monsters in some sideways. All forks are dead ends, and the mechanisms that players imagined do not exist at all. Zhang Qian's power and mana were limited, and he didn't set up a secret door leading to the right path by adding superfluous things. For him, it would be better to set up a few more traps if he had the energy to spare. As time goes by, more and more players die in various traps. Disgusting debuffs and various traps caused the players to collapse several times, and the harvest after killing the skeletons made them ecstatic. Every player is trapped in this repeated torture, constantly contributing negative emotions to Zhang Qian. After just over an hour in the secret realm, Zhang Qian had already harvested millions of power of faith. But he knew that this was only temporary, and as there were fewer and fewer players in the maze, the power of faith gained in the future would definitely decrease. Roughly estimate, before the secret realm is closed, about 4 million power of faith can be obtained. Compared with the previous dark cave, the production capacity of the current dark maze has been greatly enhanced, so the opening time of the secret realm has also been extended a lot, a full 36 hours, more than 3 times the previous one. I don't know if anyone can come to me. Zhang Qian is very much looking forward to meeting the players, because being a boss is really boring. If a few players come and let him kill and play, it may relieve the boredom. Don't be complacent, the current strength is not enough, I still have to hang on, I can't afford it. While Zhang Qian was thinking this in his heart, he continued to pay attention to the traps in the maze to check for gaps. The situation in the maze is very complicated. After all, Zhang Qian's brainpower is limited, so he can't do everything well, and it's impossible to arrange every trap just right. By observing the encounters of each player, it may be possible to optimize the maze settings in terms of details, thereby further increasing the intensity of torturing players. In a certain channel, members of the new elite group of the Magic Light Society are carefully groping forward. A player accidentally pressed a floor tile, and a large number of arrows suddenly, swish, from both sides of the wall. Two squishy players were shot to death on the spot, and the others quickly entered a fighting state. Those who increased blood increased their blood, and those who blocked arrows blocked arrows. It seemed that they were very tacit. In fact, they were not so tacit in the beginning. After all, the Magic Light Society only formed a new elite group during the day, and even the players of this elite group were recruited on the spot. How could such a team have such a tacit understanding just after it was formed? And the reason why they have such a tacit understanding is also related to this passage. They probably wouldn't have guessed that this was the only correct path among the countless forks. After the entire elite group entered this passage, they have been encountering various organ traps. Out of the elite group of hundreds of people, there are only more than 80 people left here. Perhaps there was an element of luck, but the fact that they were able to survive after encountering the traps of agencies one after another showed that the 80 people had more or less strength. After some confusion, these 80 people passed a level again. The group leader Zhoujuan Dacheng said with lingering fear, "There are too many organs in this ghostly secret realm. It seems that we won't see the boss again today." A team member beside him poured red medicine into his mouth, grinning his teeth and said, "I feel that if I can get through this secret realm, there will be no secret realm that will be difficult for me in the future. It's too difficult." Another team member also echoed, "Yes. If the secret realms I encounter in the future are so difficult, I would rather go back to the city and be a life player. It's too annoying. I can't bear it." "Relax," Zhoujuan Dacheng reassured. "There must not be many bosses like the fallen Dark Sword Master, after all, he is a mutant boss." Someone asked, "What do you think the fallen Dark Sword Master wants to do? Isn't he just a boss? Why do you have to set up so many messy traps? Isn't the meaning of boss existence to kill us players? Who would have thought of this? Maybe this boss is crazy." Everyone laughed loudly, and the depressed atmosphere after being attacked just now was swept away. A wiser player speculated, "I suspect that his intelligence may have transformed during the process of mutation. Then, he can gain some benefits by torturing us, and maybe even directly improve his strength." Zhoujuan Dacheng frowned and said, "By torturing us to improve our strength? I only heard that boss can increase its strength by killing players, but I haven't heard of any boss that can increase its strength by torturing players." The wise player spread his hands. "Besides this reason, I really can't think of any other reason." He can't think it's fun, can he? The corners of everyone's mouths twitched. Is this really fun? It's not fun. Especially from the player's standpoint, this is clearly being played by the boss. After walking forward for a while, a pool suddenly appeared in front of him. Someone shouted, "It's the waterway, we have encountered the waterway." With the strategy of the previous 2 days, everyone knows the disgusting part of the waterway. There is no doubt that there must be half-cylinder traps and large flap traps in this section of the waterway. However, since they knew that they might encounter these traps, how could the new elite group of the Magic Light Society be unprepared? Zhoujuan Dacheng said with a confident smile, "The preparations we have made will finally come in handy. Take out the punts and let the boss see our methods." The few people in front excitedly took out the flat-bottomed boat from their backpacks and put it into the water, then jumped on the boat, paddled and rushed forward. Someone shouted excitedly, "Haha! Rowing is not considered walking upright, and the speed has not been reduced." Others' eyes lit up when they heard the words, "So, riding a horse won't slow down." Zhoujuan Dacheng shook his head and said, "It's useless. In this maze, no matter how fast the speed is, who would dare to let go and run? Let's go through the waterway first." However, The few people who had just entered the water hadn't rowed far, when there was a muffled sound from the bottom of the boat. Immediately afterwards, a cylindrical gear crossing both sides of the passage fell down from the top of the passage in front. What is a cylindrical gear? It is a cylinder with sawtooth horizontally arranged on it. This huge gear that fell suddenly startled everyone. When he came back to his senses, Jojuan Dachang couldn't help cursing. What the hell, can't afford it, can't it? A waterway is still playing with flowers, and the half-cylindrical trap is gone, and such a thing is made again. Really? One trick a day. The wise player said in a deep voice. It's a precision mechanism, it should be the flat-bottomed boat that touched the mechanism. He went into the water and crawled under the flat-bottomed boat and touched it with his hand, and there was indeed a rocker being pushed on the bottom of the boat. Push the boat away and reset the rocker, but the giant gear is still in front of it. Obviously, this rocker is a one-time control switch. With this huge gear in the way, the flat-bottomed boat is obviously not easy to use. The diameter of this cylindrical gear is about 3 meters. After falling, half of it sank into the water, and the other half blocked the small half of the passage. For players in their 20s, their jumping ability is not strong enough to jump a height of 1.5 meters. However, with the help of others, it is not difficult to get over the columnar gear. The 9-turn large intestine pulled the sawtooth, trying to climb over the gear, but the gear immediately turned, and it was impossible to climb over. There seems to be some resistance at the bottom of the giant gear. As the gear rotates, there are click sounds from the bottom of the passage and in the wall. Obviously, there is a hidden mechanism that is linked with the gear. Jojuan Dachang didn't dare to move the giant gear anymore, for fear of touching some other trap. This gear is not high, let's just go straight there, don't pay attention to it. Jojuan Dachang observed for a while, and said to everyone when he saw nothing unusual. He called 2 team members, let them set up a shelf facing each other, and sent himself to the opposite side of the giant gear. Others followed suit, and there were more and more people in the past. People in this part of the past tried to fix the giant gear from the other side, so that those who didn't come over could crawl over directly with the saw teeth. Soon, everyone passed the giant gear. That's it. Everyone was a little confused, and they always felt that this pass was a bit sloppy. After thinking about it for a long time without knowing why, Jojuan Dachang roared with enthusiasm, no matter how much it is, keep moving forward. No matter what, I will meet the fallen Dark Sword Master today. For the future, go. For the future, go. A group of players who inexplicably ignited crawled vigorously towards the depths of the passage. It seems that even hell in the depths of the dark passage can't make them feel afraid. After advancing more than 200 meters at high speed, the team suddenly stopped. Because there is a stone gate ahead. When everyone took a closer look, their expressions suddenly turned pale. Why do you think? It turned out that there was a line of crooked characters written on the stone door. Please go back to the giant gear and turn the gear in the correct way to open the door. Grass. Is there any mistake? The organ and the gate are so far apart. I was tricked again. How angry. Who the hell would have thought of this? Who would have thought of it? How did this boss's brain grow? Isn't the brain circuit too weird? What should I do? Do you want to climb back and try? Climb back. What if the text on it is misleading? This is a maze, maybe this is a dead end. It's really too stupid. Being played around by a boss, I feel that being a player is so disrespectful. A group of players stood up from the water, cursing and not knowing what to do. The passion just now has long since disappeared without a trace. In this situation, even Jojuan Dachang, who is the head of the regiment, doesn't know how to boost morale at this moment. He thought for a while, then said in a deep voice, let's attack together and try to see if we can break through this gate. After finishing speaking, he raised the big sword in his hand, used his strongest skill to split the ground, and slashed towards Shimon fiercely. Boom! The air wave broke out, and the door was not damaged at all. But a number popped out of Jojuan Dachang's head. -342. The wise player said in surprise, this gate can also reflect some melee damage. But you can't see the health bar. Can this really be broken? Jojuan Dachang gritted his teeth and said, try it first, let's do it together. As a result, everyone shot together and used their special skills one after another. Lightning, fireball, earth slash, thunder half moon slash. All kinds of messy skill lighting effects, the illuminated passage is as bright as day. After about 15 minutes, everyone was out of breath and stopped at the same time. They stared at Shimon with expectant eyes, trying to find a crack. Suddenly, someone shouted in surprise, "Look, there is a crack here. This door can be broken." Everyone looked along the guide, and they saw a thin crack, and they couldn't help but feel excited. Jojawan Dacheng quickly said, "Okay. Since we can break it, then continue to attack. Let's go all out." The skill light effect lit up again, and everyone poured blue medicine into their mouths while releasing skills without money. Another quarter of an hour later, with a muffled sound, the stone gate collapsed. Broken. Awesome. Finally broke. Master, I am exhausted. I thought this door couldn't be broken. Ha 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 ha. Look, there is another door behind the stone gate. For a while, there was no laughter. Everyone looked forward, but saw a dark area not far away, and the brightness of the light seemed a little abnormal. Taking a closer look, it turns out that the black area is exactly a thick black iron gate. On this black iron gate, there are also a few large characters written in eye-catching colors. Congratulations on finding the right way to open the door. Please go back to the giant gear and turn the gear in the correct way to open the door. If the stone door is intact, please turn the gear 100 times clockwise to open the stone door and the iron door at the same time. If the stone door is damaged, please turn the gear 10,000 times counterclockwise to open the iron door and the copper door. After reading these words, everyone couldn't help but look confused. Is there a copper door in the back? Are you sick? Is it necessary to have so many doors? That's not the point. The point is, why is the method to open the first door hidden on the second door? Didn't you even cover it up? Just to trick us. The air is shaking. When will we players stand up? When can we kill that dog who is the fallen dark sword master? %#**. A group of people became distraught and yelled at the place. All of them were comparable to being possessed by Zon people. One can imagine the negative emotions accumulated in his heart. Zhang Qian, who was far away in the king's hall, flicked his nails, and didn't feel any curses from these people. Left and right are just the incompetent rage of a group of leaks. What is there to care about? There is a good saying, I like you and hate me to the bone, but you can't do anything about me. Chapter 31. After venting in place for a while, the members of the Magic Light Society returned along the original road in despondency. Scolding is scolding. When you should bow your head, you still have to bow your head. From entering the secret realm to now, a group of people have gained nothing, and they will not be willing to let them leave the secret realm like this. Returning to the giant gear, 9 turns Big Intestine said dejectedly, 10,000 turns counterclockwise, let's turn. Wait, the wise player suddenly said, should we make a mark? Every side of this giant gear is exactly the same. If there is no mark, how will we know how many times we have turned? Jojawan Dacheng was stunned for a moment, and asked, how to mark it? The wise player took out something and said, I have a pack of fluorescent powder here as a quest reward. This fluorescent powder is not afraid of fire and water, and it won't wash off if it sticks. Just wipe it on a sawtooth. As he spoke, he took out some fluorescent powder and applied it to a sawtooth. Not to mention, the sawtooth coated with fluorescent powder is indeed fluorescent, very eye-catching in the dark passage. Everyone was very happy to see this, and praised this wise player severely. Then, everyone started turning the giant gears. 10,000 laps, even 1 lap per second will take several hours. This giant gear is aligned with the gear below, and the friction is neither too big nor too small, so it is impossible to move faster. After a little calculation, everyone showed bitterness on their faces. Everyone in the Magic Light Society was blocked, and the players of other big guilds were also having a hard time. No, strictly speaking, since entering the maze, no player dared to say that he played comfortably. There are organs in every fork, and there are skeleton monsters in every fork. Some players are lucky and can get some treasures from the skeleton monster, but more players can't even get a copper coin after working for a long time. Many people can't help but wonder if such valuables as fashion can still be revealed in this secret realm. Time passed by, and the players who entered the dead end came to the end one after another, and had no choice but to return to the original path to find the correct passage. However, it is not easy to find the correct passage. The players entering the maze are not from the same faction, and there is no agreement between them. You enter a passage, I enter a passage, and he enters a passage. Everyone goes their own way, and the exploration progress of each party is different. After exiting a dead end, it is inevitable to enter another dead end. Some of the players who successfully survived the organ trap found the correct passage after exiting the dead end. It didn't take long for them to bump into the Magic Light Society and others who were turning gears. During this period of time, there have been players entering the dark maze one after another, and many of them even came from other places. They originally wanted to enter the dark cave to fish for oil and water, but they didn't expect to find out after arriving at the imperial capital that the dark cave had become a dark maze. From the mouths of the players who have died back, it is known that the complexity of the dark maze is countless times greater than that of the dark cave. It is so difficult to get through the dark cave, but it is even more difficult to get through the dark maze. Therefore, many people guessed that within the duration of the opening of the secret realm, it would be very difficult for anyone to kill the fallen Dark Sword Master. Locals are so unconfident, let alone foreigners. They don't expect to gain something in the dark maze on the first day. They just want to enter the maze early to find out the situation, so as to provide certain information support for the next exploration of the secret realm. In this way, players exit the maze every moment, and new players join in. However, new players are generally fewer and fewer. After all, the Dark Labyrinth has level restrictions, and players higher than level 5 of the Lord of the Secrets cannot enter. Today, although Zhang Qian's level has risen again and again, he still hasn't broken out of the low-level range. Ordinary people in this world can only become players after they participate in the job transfer ceremony around July of the year they turn 18. Everyone knows that the transfer ceremony is actually just like the college entrance examination. It is a turning point in the fate of ordinary people. Due to the relatively fast leveling up in the early stage, most people will have a stage of rapid level improvement after they become players. Now it is September, and there are fewer and fewer players in their 20s. As a result, there are naturally not many players suitable for entering the Dark Labyrinth. There are about 50,000 ordinary people in the imperial capital who become players every year, and only about 30,000 of them are combat players. And the leveling speed of these 30,000 people is also uneven. Some are faster and some are slower, and they are usually scattered in various leveling areas. It was only in the past few days that they were attracted to Dead Bones Mountain. Some of them didn't have many resurrection coins. Although they were envious of the treasures that broke out in the secret realm, they didn't dare to participate easily. The combination of these factors resulted in a very limited number of players who could enter the Dark Labyrinth. Therefore, although more and more players entered the maze, they did not usher in explosive growth after all. But this situation is only temporary. Under Zhang Qian's control, among the players who entered the secret realm this time, some valuables such as costumes and reinforcement stones were revealed. Fearing that more and more fashions produced in the Dark Labyrinth would lead to a sharp drop in prices, after a few lucky people who broke out the fashions died, they immediately started looking for buyers to sell the fashions. This behavior caused a strong sensation, and also made the Dark Labyrinth more and more popular. The management of several major guilds also felt a sense of urgency. They gathered the new elite players who had withdrawn from the secret realm, and after a brief understanding of the situation, they distributed resurrection coins to allow everyone to enter the dark maze again. As a result, the number of players entering the Dark Labyrinth finally ushered in another surge. Seeing more and more players entering the secret realm, Zhang Qian was happy but also worried. Because the dark maze is only as big as 6 football fields after all, if too many players come, they can fill up the maze. Therefore, in order to ensure that the maze is not broken, the number of players must be strictly controlled, neither too many players nor too few players. Zhang Qian thought for a while, and decisively dispatched the Pale Skeleton Sword Master and the Ice Phantom Sword Master, ordering them to wander around the maze to hunt and kill players. He did not leave the player with a secret door leading to the correct passage, but set up a secret door for his skeleton army to walk through the maze. Can this double standard play be considered a masterpiece? As the Pale Skeleton Sword Master and Ice Phantom Sword Master led the skeleton troops to sneak around, the players in the maze became more and more miserable. Some people were walking in the passage, when suddenly a rain of arrows came from behind. The people behind were immediately sent out of the secret realm with their health emptied, and the people in front turned around to chase the enemy, but they either disappeared after chasing the enemy, or left only a few weak skeleton soldiers. The ubiquitous hidden doors and the elusive skeleton killer make it impossible for players to guard against them. What's going on? Where did those skeleton monsters come from? I searched there earlier, and there were obviously no monsters. Why did so many monsters suddenly appear? There must be a secret passage. Where is the secret passage? I can't find it. I can't even find the mechanism. Asshole. How annoying. How can you play this? It's all the fault of the fallen Dark Sword Master. This boss is really too stupid. Yes, it's all the fault of the fallen Dark Sword Master. Not everyone hates those skeleton monsters who come to attack. Strong players are not afraid of being attacked by monsters, but they are afraid that they will not meet a monster after wandering through the maze. They are here to hunt treasure. If there are no monsters, how can they play treasure? In a side road, 5 capable players were crawling unhurriedly on the ground when a rain of arrows suddenly shot from behind. -322. -117. -674. -422. -823. Damage data popped up above their heads, but they were not killed instantly, and each of them quickly took out the red medicine to replenish blood. Then, he crawled excitedly and rushed to the sneak-attacking skeleton monster, climbing and screaming at the same time. Come on, finally something strange. Kill monsters and explode fashion. It's just a few little skeletons, and they dare to attack us. Court death. They're dead ghosts. Due to the acceleration of 50% in the crawling state, these 5 elite players charged extremely fast. The number of skeletons that sneaked in was only a dozen, and they were all relatively crispy skeleton archers, and they were not led by the Pale Skeleton Sword Master and the Ice Ghost Sword Master. They were not the opponents of the 5 elite players at all. Chopped to pieces. One of the skeletons also exploded a costume, which excited the 5 elite players. Haha, it's fashionable. Oh, get rich. Excellent. Although this dark maze is difficult to mix, the burst rate is really impressive. Keep going. Be careful of sneak attacks. Go. Similar scenes happen from time to time. Players are both painful and happy. While enduring the torment of secret organs, they enjoy the joy of exploding treasures. This ups and downs of mood allowed them to provide Zhang Qian with negative emotions for a longer period of time. Zhang Qian paid close attention to the secret realm, and ordered his 2 generals to deal with the players who were fattened up, and sent them out to show off. For those players who are about to collapse due to torture, give them a few weak chicken skeletons to kill them, and pop out some good things to comfort them. In this way, more and more players died, and more treasures were brought out. In the outside world, on the player's social platform, treasure hunting in the dark maze has become a hot topic. Sell a piece of men's fashion, and the one with the highest price will get Wheel Demon Fashion Man. Same as a men's fashion, don't miss Glass Dragon King Fashion Man when you pass by. Awesome. How long has it been since 2 more fashions came out? Is this the card of the Dark Labyrinth? Sure enough, it is not comparable to the Dark Cave. These 2 outfits look pretty good, not a bit worse than the Starry Night prints that came out before. Okay, the fashions produced in the labyrinth are of high quality. Why is there no women's fashion? Looking for a piece of women's fashion, the price is negotiable. The players in the Imperial capital are very lucky. There is such a high-yield secret environment nearby. I am afraid that they will never be short of money in the future. The coordinates are in Hangzhou. Has anyone organized a group to go to the dark maze to hunt treasure? Coordinate Magic City. Looking for a group of dark mazes to fight treasures, only enter the elite team. Coordinate Shu Capital. Recruit a large number of elite players, target the dark maze, and sign up at the Temple Square. The popularity of the 2 fashion posts remains high, and the bidding comments in the comment area are refreshed every moment. In fact, these 2 pieces of fashion are not the only ones that were revealed today, but only these 2 pieces were sold. The other players who released the costumes may be waiting for a price, or they may be planning to use them for themselves. No matter what, the Dark Labyrinth is completely popular. Many foreign players' eyes were red, and they formed teams one after another to come to the Dark Labyrinth to get a share. If you can get a piece of fashion and sell it at a high price, what equipment will you not be able to buy in the future? Who can endure such temptation of interests? Fallen Dark Sword Master. Level 25. Experience points 5.4 with 32 W. Rank Silver King. Faith value -791 with 1000 W. Countdown to Super Evolution 111, 43, 22. Life 5 W. Mana 5000. Attack 5000, 7000. Defense 5000. Skills Dark Sword Slash, Death Pact, Dark 9 Slash, Dark Flame. Territory Dark Labyrinth. Looking at the properties panel, Zhang Qian was in a very happy mood. After just over 8 hours, more than 2 million power of faith was obtained, and there is no suspense in replenishing the remaining power of faith within 5 days. Even the level has been raised by 3 levels, and the attributes have been greatly improved. This is still the result of distributing most of the experience to the skeleton monsters under his command, otherwise his level could be even higher. As a master of the secret realm, if you don't do it yourself, you can't take all the experience on yourself. The master of the secret realm and the mobs under his command have an experience distribution ratio range from 10% to 90%. In other words, regardless of whether Zhang Qian or the mobs under his command, every time a player is killed, he can gain at least 10% and at most 90% of the experience gained. It can be that Zhang Qian gets 90%, or it can be that the mobs get 90%. As the master of the secret realm, he has the right to fine-tune how to allocate. Under normal circumstances, when the master of the secret realm does not consciously control it, the rules will default to 50% distribution. Zhang Qian was relatively selfish when he first traveled, and directly increased his experience gain ratio to 90%. But after super evolving into a king, his sense of security has been greatly improved, and his experience gain ratio has increased to 10%. If it wasn't like this, as in today's situation, if more than 10,000 players died in the Dark Labyrinth, his level could be raised to over 30. He thought about it, thinking that he couldn't just focus on improving himself, regardless of the skeleton monsters under his command. Because whether it's dealing with players, or expanding territory in the underworld, he can't do without his subordinates. If you only care about improving your level, when you encounter a powerful group, you can only end in person, which is not in line with the status of a king. More importantly, the higher the level of Zhang Qian, the higher the level of players who can enter the secret realm. The higher the player level, the more means there are. Many high-level players can fly, and some high-level curse masters can even launch curse attacks on enemies without seeing them. Putting that kind of advanced player in too early, wouldn't it make yourself unhappy? If you don't improve the combat power of the mobs under your command, then they can only be reduced to cannon fodder in the end. If the mobs under his command are of a certain level, they don't even have the ability to cause damage to players. What's the use of such a group of people coming? Is it purely for players to distribute money? Zhang Qian does not want to see that kind of result. Neither mastering the strong and serving the weak nor mastering the weak and serving the strong is not a healthy way of development. He needs to maintain a certain balance. There is no rush to increase the level, it is reasonable to increase the rank first. Think about it, if you can raise your rank to the Golden Sovereign before level 30, how many players will you have to kill? If the rank is raised to the Dark Gold Emperor, how many players will it take to kill him? Going up, Zhang Qian dare not think about the ranks of Legend, Epic, Legend, and Myth for the time being. The required power of faith must be astronomical, and it is impossible to achieve it in the short term. At the Giant Gear, after nearly 10 hours of hard work, everyone in the Magic Light Society finally made 10,000 laps. At this moment, it is not only the Magic Light Society that is blocked by the Black Iron Gate. In the process of their giant gears, many players arrived here one after another. Because they were worried about unexpected changes, other people did not intervene hastily, and still only let the Magic Light Club play the giant gear. The Magic Light Club players have no objection to this, because they are also afraid that other people's meddling will cause all previous efforts to be wasted. As the giant gear turned 10,000 times, there was a loud rumbling sound from the depths of the passage. Everyone in the Magic Light Society was so excited that they were so moved that they almost wanted to cry. It's finally over. I'm all paralyzed. Let's go down to the secret realm happily, and turn the gears in a daze, but the calculation is over. Come on. Kill the boss and go. A large group of players crawled vigorously into the depths of the passage, and when they arrived at the black iron gate, they saw that the black iron gate was gone, only a brick on the ground was iron black. But the iron gate sank and sank completely into the ground. This is the case for this type of mechanism, and the heavier parts must be moved from the top to the bottom to save energy than from the bottom to the top. Zhongqian only needs to give the results when setting up organs, and he can use mana to reverse the process. Each organ must adopt the optimal plan, which must be how to save mana. The players crossed the iron gate and moved forward for a certain distance, but saw another stone gate appeared in front of them. The Magic Light Club players were dumbfounded. What's the situation? Why is there another stone gate? Have we crossed over? 10 hours ago. Already named the number 1 think tank by Zhoujuan Dacheng, the wise player named Yang Xiaochen observed carefully for a moment, then said helplessly, look to see if there is any mechanism. If there is no mechanism, you can only smash the door. After searching for a long time, I couldn't find any mechanism. Zhoujuan Dacheng immediately ordered to smash the door, and the first few players unleashed their skills together. There was only a rumbling sound, and the stone gate shattered. All the players were stunned. The latecomers had also heard what had happened from the people of the Demon Light congregation, and thought that this stone gate was the same as the previous one, and it would take a lot of effort to break through. Unexpectedly, the stone gate shattered as soon as the first person hit the skill, and all the other people's skills hit the air. This made everyone feel like a punch that condensed all their strength hit the cotton, which was very awkward. It's so depressing that I want to vomit blood. This really makes people mentality. Everyone was speechless, not knowing what to say. Suddenly, someone pointed to the ground and said, look, there are words on the ground. Everyone looked intently, and sure enough, there were several lines of eye-catching characters written on the floor in front of it. There is a door ahead, please open the mechanism according to the rules to pass through. Another door. Everyone's expressions were distorted. They were quite sensitive to the word, door, and instinctively thought it was a trouble. Look quickly, where are the rules? No need to search carefully, the rules are actually engraved on the floor not far in front. Everyone climbed a few steps forward and saw the so-called rules. Game, hopscotch, in a team of 2, they must jump into the correct squares in sequence and move forward simultaneously. If one person makes a mistake, the 2 will be punished at the same time. Someone couldn't help but read aloud. The others were in an uproar when they heard it. Hopscotch, isn't this a kid's game? I stopped playing when I was 6. I like this game. No one could play me when I was playing hopscotch before, but now that I'm so old, isn't it too naive to play this kind of game again? Wake up. This is not asking us to play games at all, but to play us. I bet that the boss has no good intentions. Does it need to be said? In a team of 2, they have to hopscotch at the same time. If one person makes a mistake and the 2 are punished at the same time, this is clearly a test of tacit understanding. I just don't know how the punishment will be. Let's discuss it. Let's try to choose someone first. This channel has many traps. It seems that it should be the correct channel. No matter what difficulties lie ahead, there is no reason to back down. There are so many people here, how do you choose people? At this point, everyone was silent. The characteristic of players is to seek advantages and avoid disadvantages, rush forward if it is beneficial, and shrink back if it is not beneficial. At this time, everyone knows that playing the game first will definitely suffer a big loss, so naturally no one wants to stand out. The wise player Yang Xiaochen said, the composition of our players here is complicated. There are 7 guilds alone, and there are many casual players. If you want to work hard, how about being last? At this moment, more than 600 people had already gathered in the passage. In addition to the members of the Magic Light Society, several Grand Guild players and many casual people walked into this passage. Everyone discussed and nodded, thinking that Yang Xiaochen's proposal was very good. Even the casual players formed a loose alliance and chose a player with a higher level as the leader. Several parties drew lots to select players in the team, and then gathered together to draw lots to determine the order, and soon 7 groups of players were selected. The first group of players to try is from Tiancheng Guild, and they are also members of the guild's new elite group. The 2 of them, one tall and one short, are both men. They didn't make any preparations, and they were directly ready to jump. The two walked to the office and observed carefully for a while. There is a row of white floor tiles as the starting point at the foot, and the grids that make up the house are further forward. The color of the floor tiles in each grid is different, but it is obviously different from ordinary floor tiles. With just one glance, everyone knows that this is not the same as the ordinary hopscotch game, at least not exactly the same. First of all, this grid is very long, because the light in the passage is relatively dim, so the exact length is still unknown. Secondly, there are holes in some grids, and I don't know what's in the holes. Many have speculated that the holes may have something to do with punishment. The two players in the first group looked at each other, then walked up to the first row of white floor tiles together. Immediately afterwards, they saw a light glow on the first grid in front of them, and a 3-second countdown appeared on it. The two of them didn't dare to hesitate, and hastily performed the independent movement of a golden rooster, and lightly jumped onto the first grid. The first jump was a tacit understanding. Both of them landed on the grid at the last second. They both breathed a sigh of relief, but felt very ashamed in their hearts. Two big men also come to play hopscotch, it feels really childish. Without allowing them to think too much, the ones in front also lit up, and this time the countdown was only 2 seconds. The two quickly took off again, but this time the takeoff was not so neat. They landed one after the other, and the landing time was about a few tenths of a second wrong. The moment he landed, the floor tiles under the feet of the person on the left suddenly sank by a centimeter. Then, there was a scream from behind. Everyone turned their heads and saw two sharp knives protruding from the ceiling, nailing a player to the ground. The player couldn't move, one damage after another appeared on his head, and soon his life was exhausted, turning into a white light and returning to the city to be resurrected. The sharp blade bounced back with a whoosh, and retracted into the mechanism on the ceiling. At the same time, there was a sudden roar from farther behind, and a black iron gate fell down, completely sealing off the escape route of everyone. Everyone's complexion changed, and they hurried to the black iron gate to check. But looking left and right, I couldn't find the mechanism. Obviously, this black iron gate is not so easy to open. Looking at the ceiling again, I saw that it was densely packed with black holes. These black holes are probably full of the sharp blades just now, aren't they? Hiss. This design randomly punishes a lucky spectator. It seems to be true. They are playing games in front of us, but we are punished if they don't play well. What's the point of this? I understand. The boss wants to torture us. He wants to force us to unite and pass the test as soon as possible. What is this boss thinking? I really don't understand him. What should we do? With their tacit understanding, they didn't respond to the second step. Who knows how many mistakes will be made in the future? If they keep making mistakes, won't we always be inserted? No way, this level has to be passed, it can only be luck. Everyone was discussing and feeling very aggrieved. I thought this level was only related to the people who played the game, but I didn't expect that audiences like them would also participate, which was really unexpected. The two players in the first group retreated after failing the challenge. They gloated in their hearts. They thought that they were the first to go up to be cannon fodder, and something bad would happen next. Unexpectedly, the result was exactly the opposite. The people who participated in the game were not punished, but the onlookers behind were punished, which really made them a little overjoyed. Everyone muttered and complained during the day, but they couldn't think of any other way, so they had to change a group of people to try. The two players in the first group were a little reluctant. They could escape punishment by participating in the game. They were unwilling to come back as spectators. But there was no way, the lottery was all drawn, and the arms couldn't twist the thighs, so they had no choice but to retreat. The second group of players prepares a bit, and then starts jumping. The two of them danced casually in the audience area just now, exercising their tacit understanding with each other a little bit, and they danced very well in the first few squares. When jumping to the fifth grid, the countdown on the grid in front of him suddenly became rapid, and it only counted down to 1 second. Both of them were stunned for a moment, and then they jumped over. As a result, both of them timed out, and the two floor tiles sank at the same time. Before the two had time to react, a pillar suddenly rose from the hole in the grid under their feet. The pillar was right under the crotch of the two of them, and the speed of rising was so fast and violent, the two of them had no time to react. They were pushed to the vital point immediately, and they couldn't help but let out a miserable howl. Oh, I'm so hurt. The complexion of the two of them was changing, sometimes green and sometimes pale, sometimes maroon and sometimes sallow, just like the neon lights on the street. Seeing this scene, everyone in the audience area at the back also felt the chill in their crotch, and couldn't help their scalp numb. A few female players saw that the players were not punished just now, so they wanted to go up and play. But seeing the scene just now, they completely stopped thinking. To let them take this risk to play the game, they would rather be stabbed to death by the sharp knife falling from above. Seeing the good civilian players in the second group stumble back, everyone didn't know what to say for a while. I thought that those who played games would not be punished, but it turned out that I and others were thinking too much. This is worse than the punishment received in the audience area. The third group of players shivered, considering whether to refuse the errand and just be a spectator. You may be punished for playing games, and you may be punished for being a spectator. This boss really is, neither side will relax. The key point is that he is so good at torturing people. I thought it was safe to be a spectator, but I didn't expect to be punished for being a spectator. I thought it was safe to go up to play games, but I didn't expect that the punishment might be more serious for going up to play games. Sin, please, Taishang Laojun, come and take this boss away. Don't expect to be too old, just think about how to pass the test. What pass? I'm going to close my eyes and wait to die. How the hell can I pass this? Not yet. Could it be that so many of us messed up together and just waited here? This passage is the longest, and the other passages encountered along the way are all dead ends. There is no doubt that this is definitely the correct passage. After finally choosing the correct passage, do you just give up halfway? The correct passage is not a straight line, but a complex route with very irregular turns. And there are many forks on this correct passage, basically every turn has another intersection. It is entirely the result of making the right choices time and time again. Therefore, it is really not easy to get here, and many people are unwilling to give up. We must continue to pass this level. Don't be idle, let the people who were selected by the lottery just try to complete the game. We are in the back, watching the upper side to guard against sharp blades, and practicing in groups of 2 and 2. As long as we work together, it may not be impossible to pass this level. Yang Xiaochen said in a deep voice, his brows were full of determination. After some discussion, everyone finally accepted the suggestion. When everyone was in their positions, Yang Xiaochen couldn't help but muttered to himself, fighting people is fun, fighting the sky is fun, fighting bosses is fun. Fallen Dark Sword Master, I must fight with you. Fight wits and fight to the end. After discussing the countermeasures, everyone immediately entered the execution stage. The third group was rotated players, trembling forward to play the game. In the rear, the other players were not idle either, they were all looking for a tacit understanding in groups of 2. In the palace, Zhang Qian watched this scene with a faint smile on his lips. The 6 football fields sound huge, but they are actually no more than 200 meters long and wide. With the speed of a level 20 player, it only takes a few more seconds to go from one end to the other. If it weren't for the maze being full of traps, a maze of this size could be leveled by tens of thousands of players in minutes. So after such a long delay, these players are actually not far from the entrance of the palace. It is precisely for this reason that Zhang Qian arranged such a difficult little game. It is close to the end of the level, so it is natural to increase the difficulty of the level. In addition, the Pale Skeleton Sword Master and the Ice Phantom Sword Master have also been transferred nearby, ready to launch a sneak attack on the players here at any time. As for the players in other passages, it doesn't matter if you ignore them for the time being, anyway, they will have to be blocked when they come here. If the people in front cannot make it through, the people behind will be even more difficult. At this time, the players who were blocked by the hopscotch game did not know that there were some players gathered on the other side of the black iron gate behind them. These players looked at the black iron gate in front of them, all with blank faces. Please wait for the player in front to finish the game. After the player in front finishes the game, the door will automatically open. Is there still a game to play in the maze? Don't think about it, it must be some perverted levels. That is, with the perverted level of this maze boss, he can't make the players feel better. I don't know any disgusting games before. We just wait here for them to break through. However, if they don't clear the level all the time, don't we have to wait here all the time? How boring would it be? No way, this iron door is hard to open at first glance. Is there any other way besides waiting here? No, just wait. Looking at these players, Zhang Qian frowned slightly. It's a waste to let these players idle here. Logically we should find a way to torture them. But where there are players, the organ trap cannot be changed. This is a protection rule. No matter how much mana Zhang Qian has, he can't violate it. He can only reset the trap when the maze is refreshed. After thinking about it, he decided to let the two generals under his command lead the skeleton troops to deal with these players first. In any case, the players cannot be left idle. After receiving the order, the Pale Skeleton Sword Master and the Ice Phantom Sword Master immediately led the skeleton troops to the nearest secret door and headed for the target. Not long after, a surprise attack suddenly launched. The players were feeling bored, and instead of being surprised when they encountered a surprise attack, they happily fought with the skeletons. But happiness is happiness, and being beaten is really being beaten. From the opening of the maze to the present, at least tens of thousands of players have died. The skeleton monsters in the maze have generally been upgraded by 1 or 2 levels, and their offense and defense are stronger than before. Fighting more and fighting less, the level is almost the same, and led by 2 bronze lords, the skeletons broke out with very strong fighting power. The players quickly fell into a disadvantage. The Pale Skeleton Sword Master is responsible for the frontal attack, mixing in the crowd of skeletons, killing a player in seconds every time he releases his skills. The Frost Phantom Swordmaster, on the other hand, is elusive, spying on sneak attacks in secret. Although the single damage is not as good as that of the Pale Skeleton Swordmaster, it is impossible to defend against, and it is difficult for the players who are targeted by her to persist in a few rounds of sneak attacks. After only a moment, most of the players were dead or injured. But at this moment, Zhang Qian, who was far away in the hall, ordered the skeleton army to retreat immediately. Undead creatures were banned, and soon they all withdrew from the battlefield, disappearing without a trace. The players were already at a disadvantage. Seeing the skeleton army retreating, they did not dare to rush after them for a while. They could only watch helplessly as the skeleton corps disappeared, each of them standing there in a daze, not knowing what to do. What's going on here? How did those skeletons escape? I don't know. This is too strange. It's not uncommon for monsters to run away, but it's rare to have the upper hand and run away. I've never encountered it before. Could it be that there is a more terrifying danger here? Are you stupid? There is nothing more dangerous than death. Are you afraid of death, or are you afraid of death? Then why do they retreat? I suspect that they may have been ordered to attack others. The players made all kinds of guesses, but in the end, none of them were reliable. Because Zhang Qian ordered his subordinates to retreat, just because he didn't want to eliminate these players so quickly. Eliminate them in one go, and you can only get nearly 1,000 points of faith at once. But if they go back and forth to launch a few more attacks, they can make them tireless and generate more power of faith. What is it called? This is called cutting flesh from a live donkey. In the next period of time, whenever the players feel bored, the skeleton army will suddenly appear and attack them. Once or twice is nothing. After several times in succession, these players suddenly collapsed. The negative emotions came in waves one after another, and they couldn't stop at all. Negative emotions from player XXX plus 199. Converted into 199 points of power of faith. Negative emotions from player XXX plus 344. Transformed into 344 points of power of faith. Negative emotions from player XXX plus 233. Transformed into 233 points of power of faith. What the hell, are you sick? Come and leave whenever you want. What the hell is this, your house? Brother, don't even mention it, this is someone's home. If you want to kill, kill, why do you torture us again and again? I'm going to fight with them. After being raided several times in a row, the players finally couldn't bear it anymore. Seeing that the skeleton monsters turned and retreated again, a group of players immediately chased after them screaming. Seeing that the players had been tortured to the limit, Zhang Qian immediately ordered his subordinates to launch a war of annihilation against them. After being raided several times in a row, the number of players on the side has decreased a lot, and the gap in combat power between the two sides has further widened, let alone being no match for the skeleton army. In just a moment, a group of players were completely killed. The skeleton army disappeared into the darkness again, and the place has regained its tranquility. But this tranquility is only temporary, and there will definitely be players arriving here soon. They probably don't know yet that they are about to become donkeys who are cut alive. On the other side of the Black Iron Gate, after trial and error, the number of players finally decreased. This game is simply not for humans to play. What kind of god can pass this game? Nima. It's fine if the countdown is irregular, but why is the trap triggered irregularly? What kind of brain circuit is it that can design such an anti-human game? Destroy it. I'm tired. I really don't want to play anymore. I won't come back after going out this time. Me too. After going out, I used other secret realms, and I will never come to this dark labyrinth again. Fallen Dark Sword Master, please spare me. How angry. The fallen Dark Sword Master must be watching our jokes behind the scenes. At this moment, there was a loud rumbling sound from the iron gate behind him. Everyone was taken aback for a moment, and when they looked back, the black iron gate was slowly sinking into the ground. Looking at the two big men in hopscotch, they were excitedly hugging each other and cheering. I finally cleared the level. Haha, we did it. Everyone suddenly realized that they had passed the customs, no wonder the black iron gate sank. This is the clearance. Some players couldn't believe it for a while, and it took a while to confirm that it was true. Great, finally cleared the level. I knew it, I knew that the mechanism set by the fallen Dark Sword Master couldn't stop us. Come on, the front door has been opened, it's time to eliminate the evil fallen Dark Sword Master. I have endured him for a long time, and I must kill him today. Seeing that the level of hopscotch has been cleared, the players couldn't help being excited, shouting loudly and rushing to the depths of the passage. I don't know if they are used to crawling, but this group of players didn't forget to crawl on the ground even when they were so excited. On the one hand, the blood is boiling, and on the other hand, it is lying on the stomach like a dog. This scene looks really weird. After rushing for a while, everyone found that there seemed to be some problems with the angle of the floor of the passageway ahead. After a closer look, one side was higher and the other was lower, and the floor had become extremely smooth. It turned out that the mirror channel that appeared 2 days ago was moved here. As for the mirror channel, everyone can be said to be very familiar with it. Because in the dark cave 2 days ago, the position of the mirror passage was basically relatively front. Therefore, many players have experienced the test of the mirror channel. And on the player's social platform, there are also many people who are studying how to pass through the mirror channel, and even gave some effective suggestions. So facing the mirror passage at this moment, all the players were actually proud, and Chi-Chi started to rummage in the backpack. Soon, they took out a pair of shoes made of strange materials and put them on their feet. Then, the first few people confidently walked deep into the mirror passage. Every time they took a step, there would be a crackling sound under their feet. No one slipped and fell even though the angle between the aisles was getting wider and wider. Someone couldn't help laughing. These non-slip shoes are really useful. Others echoed, not bad. The merchant said that wearing this kind of rubber shoes will not slip no matter how slippery the ground is. It's really not an exaggeration. Should we be able to pass through the mirror passage easily this time? Sure, these rubber shoes are really reliable. Let's go, time is running out, we must kill the fallen Dark Sword Master today. Rush, rush. A group of people walked faster and faster, and finally took out the spare rubber shoe covers on their hands, and crawled on all fours. In this way, the speed is more than doubled, and it seems to be a bit fast. After rushing for another distance, the person in front suddenly slid to the side of the passage, stuck by the glue on the wall and unable to move. The people in the back suddenly looked confused. They were climbing well a second ago, why did they slide down all of a sudden? While thinking, another person rushed halfway forward without stopping the car, and also slid obliquely to the right along the floor with a squeak. Since this person's sliding track was the same as that of the previous one, he slid down and directly bumped into that person's body, but he was not stuck to the wall, but smashed the person on his back so badly that he couldn't speak for a while. After he stabilized his figure, he swears, "I'm so stupid." Gobi boss even put oil on the floor, and the rubber shoes don't work. What? Grease the floor. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. You really know how to play. Oil the mirror. How the hell can you get over this? Think about it carefully, there should be a way to get there. Everyone carefully observed the floor in front of them. There was indeed a thick layer of oil on the floor, and it was impossible to tell what kind of oil it was. A magician tried to set fireballs on the oil, but it didn't burn at all. Obviously, this oil is fireproof oil, the kind that is difficult to burn. Yang Xiaochen sighed. The rubber shoes don't work, and the floor can't walk. Zhoujuan Dachang asked, then what shall we do? In the last trap, the new elite group of the Magic Light Society recruited some people, and some people were played to death. Zhoujuan Dachang and Yang Xiaochen were both lucky to survive. At this moment, even Yang Xiaochen felt that the fallen Dark Sword Master was too stupid. The floor was already smooth, but it was also a steep slope, and it was still greased. What's more, there is still glue on the wall. This is simply not to let people pass it. After thinking and thinking, Yang Xiaochen finally came up with a roughly usable strategy based on the strategy of the previous 2 days. He said in a deep voice, it seems that we still need to stick something on the wall to get through. Let's stick the rubber shoes on the wall, and then lie on the ground and use our hands and feet to support the rubber shoes stuck on the wall. Everyone thought about it, but they didn't think of any other better way, so they agreed to the proposal. So, a group of players from various forces began to work together, took off the rubber shoes on their feet and handed them to the front, so that the people in front were stuck to the wall. Then, everyone lined up, lying on the ground one by one, sliding forward with rubber shoes on the wall. Only the player who was stuck on the wall and couldn't move, watched the crowd go away pitifully, and couldn't help shouting loudly, "You are too dishonest. Take me with you." The last magician shook his head, sighed and said, "Brother, it's not that I don't want to help you, it's because the glue on the wall is too strong, and there is nothing you can do after it sticks." The player who was stuck on the wall said angrily, "Then please give me a good time, let me die." The magician thought about it, nodded and said, "Okay, I'll give you a ride." After saying that, he released several skills in a row to help the stuck player return to the city for free. After a long and slow gliding, the leading player finally came to the end of the oiled mirror passage. As expected, there were still skeleton monsters blocking the way ahead. The skeleton monster group knew how to attack halfway, and they launched an all-round attack before the player landed. The melee skeletons stand in front, and the long-range skeletons behind attack wildly. The skeleton mage kept releasing fireballs, and the skeleton archers also shot one arrow after another. Before the first player could finish saying, it turned into a white light and disappeared. The people behind were afraid that they would follow in the footsteps, so they hurriedly rushed to the shore at a faster speed. The second person went ashore for only 2 seconds before he was dropped. The third person persisted for 2 more seconds. 5 seconds for the fourth person, 8 seconds for the fifth person, 11 seconds for the sixth person. More and more people went ashore and rushed into the crowd of skeletons, and then gradually gained a foothold. Then, the two sides will have you and me, and start the most brutal fight. Hundreds of skeletons faced hundreds of players, and it seemed evenly matched, with heavy casualties on both sides. At this moment, the Pale Skeleton Sword Master and the Ice Phantom Sword Master finally appeared. As soon as the two Bronze Lords joined the battle, they showed a strong aggressiveness. Players were killed in seconds one after another. Originally, the players gradually stabilized their positions, but now they were forced to retreat steadily. After about half an hour, all players were finally wiped out. There was a dead silence in the passage, and the skeleton monsters returned to their posts again. Seeing this scene, Zhang Qian shook his head inwardly. It seems that the game was too ruthless before, the number of players could not reach a certain level, and it was impossible to overcome the blocking of the Pale Skeleton Sword Master and the Ice Ghost Sword Master. There are still more than a dozen disappearing. The players should be able to organize a wave of offensive. If the next wave of players breaks in here, the hundreds of skeleton monsters should not be able to stop them. Zhang Qian thought so, but he wasn't too worried. There is still a stone ball trap array behind the oiled mirror passage, and it is a deluxe version, so it must be more difficult for players to pass through. Judging from the level of the previous waves of players, this round of Secret Realms came, and the players would definitely not be able to reach the main hall. It is not bad to be able to kill the Pale Skeleton Sword Master and the Ice Phantom Sword Master. That being the case, what else does Zhongqian have to worry about? The imperial capital is resurrected. Zhoujuan Dacheng and others gathered together dejectedly, feeling at a loss for a moment. After finally breaking through one trap after another, in the end, he still failed to see the figure of the Lord of the Secret Realm. This is really a huge blow to them, and they don't even know how to explain to the guild. Yang Xiaochen said in a deep voice, "Leader, go back to the guild first, let's see how the guild arranges." Zhoujuan Dacheng nodded, and immediately led the people to the guild's residence. But before they had gone far, they received a message from a high-level public accountant. After receiving the news from the guild's top management, Zhoujuan Dacheng immediately stopped and said to everyone, "The 9th director of the guild is coming, we will wait here." After a while, several senior players appeared at the resurrection point and walked straight towards Zhoujuan Dacheng and the others. 9 turned intestines of the new elite group. Master 9th Director. The two sides quickly confirmed each other's identities, then greeted each other and went directly to the topic. The 9th Director asked in a deep voice, "The higher-ups of the guild assigned me to deal with matters related to the Dark Cave. I have been observing your status through the guild management panel, so the first time you leave the Secret Realm, I will rush here as quickly as possible. Come, now, tell me what's going on in the Dark Cave." Zhoujuan Dacheng nodded, and then said, "The director may not be clear, the former Dark Cave has now become a dark labyrinth. Although the area of the dark labyrinth is not too large, it is densely packed with traps, and there is also the Master of the Secret Realm. A large-scale debuff is released after we enter the maze." He organized his language a little bit, and then told the 9th Director and others clearly what happened after entering the Secret Realm. It took more than half an hour to report what happened in the Secret Realm. The 9th Director glanced at Yang Xiaochen in surprise, nodded and said, "You performed very well in the Secret Realm, and the guild will remember your contribution." Yang Xiaochen was very happy. The 9th Director obviously wanted to promote him by saying this, so he quickly said a few words of thanks. "Well, you guys prepare a bit, and then go to the Secret Realm, and you must meet the fallen Dark Sword Master." The 9th Director took out a crystal ball and said, "This is the crystal ball made by the chief wizard in the guild. Bring the ball into the Secret Realm, and the outsiders can see all your experiences through another crystal ball. If you encounter more troublesome levels inside, we will arrange for people to deliver the necessary supplies to you, and give you ideas along the way. It is also fine." Zhoujuan Dacheng was surprised when he heard the words, "The influence of this crystal ball can actually break through the barriers of the Secret Realm." The 9th Director smiled. After all, the Secret Realm is not a dungeon. In fact, if the cost is not considered, top players can use their means to forcibly enter the Secret Realm, but then the Secret Realm will collapse directly, and everything in the Secret Realm will return to the original plane. So forcibly entering the Secret Realm is an act that is not worth the gain, and no one wants to do that. Fortunately, the fallen Dark Sword Master is a Secret Realm boss. If it is a dungeon boss, then we really can't help at all. This world also has dungeons, or in other words, secret realms and dungeons coexist. The difference between the two is that dungeons are evolved from rules, while secret realms are real. The monsters in the secret realm usually live in another plane, and only appear in the human plane when they descend. After killing the secret realm monster in the descending state, the secret realm monster will be resurrected according to the rules, and then sent back to the original plane. This is the true essence of Rift Refresh. The monsters in the dungeon are completely illusory. If you kill them, they will disappear, and the rules will create another batch when needed. In the same dungeon, different players are not in the same space after entering, and they are not facing the same creature. All dungeons have access restrictions. Secret realms are different. First of all, there is no limit on the number of people entering the secret realm, only entry-level restrictions. Secondly, everyone who enters the secret realm faces the same wave of monsters. So you don't need to grab the boss in the dungeon, but you need to grab it in the secret realm. Although there are obvious differences between the two, most people are still accustomed to calling the secret realm a dungeon. The secret realm can be regarded as a real space interlayer, so treasures such as crystal balls can be used. The dungeon is a virtual space completely isolated from reality, so the crystal ball cannot be used. After Zhoujuan Dacheng and the others received the crystal ball and the resurrection coins provided by the guild, they immediately rushed to Dead Bones Mountain. At this moment, the sun has risen as usual, but the secret realm of the Dark Labyrinth has not been closed. All players who pay attention to this aspect guess that the coming time of the Dark Labyrinth should be extended. This is a good thing for the players, because they see the hope of eliminating the fallen Dark Sword Master. Many players who have died once are also ready to enter again. Under the Mountain of Dead Bones, at the entrance of the Dark Labyrinth, Zhoujuan Dacheng met Lin Ju, the leader of the new elite group of the Excalibur Association, who was also holding a crystal ball in his hand. Hey, isn't this the head of the nine-turned colony of the Griffin Legion of the Magic Light Society? Why are there only so few people left? According to me, you might as well abdicate and let the virtuous forget it, so as not to become a poor commander after a few more secret realms. Lin Ju said in a strange way. The new elite group of the Magic Light Society ranks 19th among all the battle groups, so it is also called the Griffin Group. Zhoujuan Dacheng said angrily. You don't give me the yin and yang. My Griffin Legion doesn't have many people, but your Libra squad has more people. The Excalibur Guild Battle Group is arranged in the order of constellations, and the new elite group led by Lin Ju happens to be in the constellation Libra, so it is named the Libra Battle Group. The two major guilds ranked number 1 and number 2 in the imperial capital basically pinch each other when they meet each other on weekdays. If there is no conflict, they have to find some conflicts, otherwise the guild ranking battle at the end of the month will be difficult to fight. Although the Griffin Legion and the Libra Battle Group have just completed their formation, the heads of the two battle groups must have received high-level instructions. Otherwise, the subordinates made friends with each other, and some people might release water during the guild ranking battle, which was not conducive to the development of the guild. Zhoujuan Dacheng and Lin Ju choked each other while leading people into the dark maze. Along the way, the two waves of people disliked each other, almost jumping back and forth on the verge of armed conflict. The high-level executives on both sides were also very nervous watching from behind, for fear that their new elite team would forget the main task and fight each other. Fortunately, Zhoujuan Dacheng and Lin Ju are still clear-headed, and they have been suppressing everyone under their command to prevent things from developing out of control. After everyone entered the secret realm, they lay on the ground and quickly crawled along the route they had explored before. Occasionally someone forgets the position of the trap or the air wall, and it doesn't hurt to plunge into it. Anyway, it's about a bottle of blood medicine. Although I feel very angry, it doesn't affect my actions. In this way, it took more than 2 hours, and the players of the two battle groups came to the oiled mirror channel again. After the mechanism in the secret realm is destroyed, it cannot be recovered within the time period of this advent, unless it is a mechanism that already has an automatic reset function. Zhang Qian's magic power is limited, such as giant gears, black iron gates and other large mechanisms consume a lot of kinetic energy. They are basically disposable, and there is no way to make an automatic reset mechanism. Zhoujuan Dacheng and the others entered the secret realm again. Without delaying the giant gears and hopscotch, the speed of advancement was much faster than before. Lin Ju said with a smile, "Leader Dacheng, please." Zhoujuan Dacheng snorted coldly. "We want our Griffin squadron to lead the battle for you." It's a good idea. At the other end of the oiled mirror tunnel, there are hundreds of skeletons and two very powerful bronze lords. Whoever is in front will definitely suffer. But during this period of time, players from all sides have been arriving here, and they may have already fought against the skeleton monster. Starting at this moment first, it is also possible to pick the peaches of those in front, so as to take the lead. So whatever you choose, you have to take some risks. Zhoujuan Dacheng discussed with Yang Xiaochen and decided to rush to the front as soon as possible. When you get to the front, you can pick peaches if you can, and it doesn't matter if you can't pick peaches and return them. So, following the order of Zhoujuan Chengcheng, the people of the Griffin chapter climbed up the oiled mirror passage again. Lin Ju, the commander of the Libra group, followed behind shamelessly, and directly blocked the retreat of the Griffin group. Zhoujuan Dacheng didn't care about it. Anyway, he couldn't fight in the tunnel, so he just followed. At worst, he died together. Two large teams, one in front and one behind, soon reached the middle of the oiled mirror passage. But at this moment, a large group of ghosts suddenly appeared in the passage, and launched a fierce attack on the people of the two battle groups. There is no doubt that these ghosts belong to the Ice Phantom Sword Master. Zhang Qian had never used this army before, but now it was time to use the ghost army. Just as Zhou Zhuan Dachang and Yang Xiaochen expected, before they came back, players came to the oiled mirror channel one after another. Those players were disorganized and undisciplined. When they came, they didn't care what was in front of them, and just rushed along the route laid out by their predecessors. Wave after wave, they kept attacking the defense line of skeleton troops set up by Zhang Qian. You wave and I wave, every wave comes and takes away one or two skeletons. The troops at the end of the passage were continuously weakened in this way. Although they have not been broken through for the time being, if measures are not taken in time, the skeleton troops will be wiped out sooner or later. Although this army is not the last line of defense, it cannot just watch them being wiped out. So Zhang Qian saw two organized battle groups coming, so Zhang Qian decisively sent ghost troops to attack. Ordinary ghosts belong to flying units, which are characterized by low attack power, 50% immunity to physical damage, and can absorb the enemy's mana to restore their own health when attacking. In addition to these combat attributes, ghosts can also pass through walls, and their survivability is almost full. As long as they don't die on purpose, it's hard to die. Skeletons will also slip when they come to the oiled mirror passage, but flying ghosts will not, so letting them attack here is definitely more effective. In fact, just as Zhang Qian expected, the players' side immediately fell into chaos as soon as the battle started. Melee players are basically unable to use any skills due to posture reasons and space constraints. They can only swing their weapons indiscriminately, and it is difficult to hit the attacking ghosts. Among the remote players, only mages are in a better situation. They don't need to pose to cast magic, and they can release magic with a wave of wand after reading the article. Archers are completely useless. They need both hands to draw the bow. Even if they lie flat on the passage, they cannot pull the longbow away because their backs are leaning against the floor. There are still ghosts in this broken maze. Let's not talk about ghosts. What the hell is still attacking here? It's really beeping the dog. Blue has been emptied. It's disgusting. Don't make up for melee and archer mana. You can't use skills anyway. Don't let ghosts suck mana. The Ice Phantom Sword Master has appeared. Be careful. Be careful. How careful? The Ice Phantom Sword Master is always elusive, so he can't guard against it at all. Quick, rush forward. It will be fine after landing. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.